Greetings all. Here's my quick overview on the VadersVault Fury Elite that just arrived yesterday for me. Gonna get you guys a quick overview, some of the external features, talk about some of the internal features of the Crystal Shard 2.5, and then also give you guys the much anticipated comparison with a couple of the other hilts that I have, so you can see just really how different the scale is on one of these VadersVault combat class models. Um, so to get started, I mean, obviously you can see it's got the really nice gold uh, accenting on all throughout. You can look at the end cap here, or the pommel, and you can even see how it's got the ring and the little button on, which a lot of the pictures don't really do it justice to show that end cap. The grips here are actually real, like nice rubber. They're not just like machined aluminum or something, and they appear to be like pressed through, like the original Mace Windu Master Replica hilt. They don't seem like they're glued on or anything chintzy like that. They look really nice. They feel really nice. The saber itself is just small. Like, I mean, I knew it was going to come in as one of my smaller hilts, but I was shocked at how small that really turned out to be. It's got the cover tech installed, which is one of the things that I asked for uh, in the build log, and then it's set up with a nice big AV switch here, which is also a purple lit AV to go with my Mace Windu theme, which the Fury Elite is very definitely heavily inspired by Mace Windu's hilt. On the back, the auxiliary switch is actually a little tiny one right here, and oddly enough, that's actually a lot more comfortable than you would at first suspect looking at that tiny little switch. But when you're holding it and wielding it, you end up with a thumb on your power switch and an index finger on that auxiliary switch, and you have access to all the different functions and features that you would want while you're playing with it. And it's really comfortable. That's a good balance point to hold it at. It's not too far forward, not too far back, and you're not constantly shifting grip like, oh, this doesn't make any sense, like, why is this not comfortable, or anything like that. It's just a fantastic little hilt. Um, and ultimately, especially for single-handed wielding, which is what I'm going to be using it for as part of my asymmetric dual wield set with the original Master Replicas Mace Windu that I have customized. It's fantastic. It really is. The internal design that I went with here was I went for the RGB 9-watt setup that they offer. And the Crystal Shard 2.5, all the combat class sabers are based on the Crystal Shard 2.5. I had them pre-install a couple of fonts that I pulled off saberfont.com that were the ones that I especially liked. It normally comes with 3 fonts that comes with Gray Meat, Dark Meat, and Imperial Knight. And I had them add to it Shatterpoint, Shoto, and Flourish, all 3 from Mad Cow. And they sound fantastic. They really do. The speaker that's in this, oddly enough, is pretty darn tiny because the hilt itself is pretty darn tiny, and you wouldn't expect that a speaker this small could generate the kind of sound that it does. Not sure if you guys can see that particularly well, but it is a very tiny little speaker. This does have a full chassis. I haven't pulled it out, and I'm not going to pull it out because I have no need to at the moment, and I'd rather not mess with it until I have a need to do so. All the settings on it seem like they came perfectly tailored to the way that I would set it up to use it. The emitter has a bunch of little holes here. You got a little shine through going. It's actually pretty neat looking. The Master of the Mace Windu that I have has those partially milled, but they're not complete holes. I'm very much thinking I'm going to go back with a drill press and finish punching those out to give it that same effect, because it's pretty darn nifty. We'll go ahead and turn this on real quick for you. You can hear the boot that he has set up on my first font for Shatterpoint, and give a listen to some of the sound and whatnot, and you can go from there.
This part is over.
I love that boot. From there, we have a mix. The mix is for the depression stopping purplish purple, which is utterly fantastic. It's a very blue shifted purple. It doesn't look pink. It doesn't look magenta. It's very purple. It's my first thought when I grabbed it and started playing with it was comparing it to my Spark Color 2 in my Mace Windu conversion. And the Spark Color 2 has the new motion engine that he uses that's really precise and really accurate, very sensitive. This, it seems like it works most of the time, especially when I'm giving it nice hard swings. I don't have any problem with it not tripping like it should, like I would expect it to. But what you do run into is that the way the Crystal Shard, and I would assume all Plector cards work, unfortunately I don't have experience with the other Plector cards, but the Crystal Shard plays the full sound for each swing on each clash and that kind of thing, and you can't reinitiate the next sound or the next motion, whereas on the Spark 2, or on the Spark Color 2, he uses the TrueMix audio engine that he designed or borrowed or something. I don't know. I assume he created it. Anyway, what that engine allows you to do is that you can actually stop the current sound and start the next sound. So when you get, well, this is my converted Master Replica's Mace Windu. So what ends up happening with that, as I showed in my previous video about the Master Replica, is it will allow you to swing like a madman, and it will stop the current swing sound and play the next swing sound in accordance with your swings, while also maintaining the idle hum underneath, because it actually mixes those in real time. So what you end up with, instead of those nice, crisp, clean swings, which I actually really like, whoops, you'll notice that those will never replay on themselves, even if I go. You're still getting one swing play at a time. It won't double over on itself. Whereas with the Spark Color 2, if I just go berserk with it, you can hear that it will stop the current sound and play another one based on the swings as they're detected. Which, I'm not sure that's necessarily better or not. I mean, obviously that's going to be a personal preference kind of thing, but to me, it seems a little more realistic to be able to say that just because I stopped my swing, the sound should also stop and replay with the next swing, as long as you're going to keep waving it around like an idiot. So that's sort of a here nor there. Honestly, I like them both. Obviously, you get much better sound definition with the Crystal Shard because it plays the full sounds, and so it gets played as the font designer intended. The other thing that you obviously see right here, side by side, the Master Replica's Mace Windu hilt is large enough on the inside that if there were no internals in here, we could literally put the VadersVault Combat Class Fury inside of it. It is an incredibly large difference. Everybody's pretty aware that the Master Replica models are pretty fat. They're big. We've known that. Most people already are aware. But this just really illustrates the size difference very clearly, even with the smaller hilt closer to the camera. I mean, we'll pull this little move just so you can really... I mean, the difference there is just absolutely dramatic. A lot of questions about, oh, well, how big are they compared to this, that, and the other? Well, here's a really good baseline. A lot of people have the Master Replica models or the Hasbro models that are really similarly sized. The combat class units from VadersVault are significantly smaller. They're also a good bit lighter. It's actually really easy to just grab this and swing it around, because this is the lightest hilt that I've ever experienced, and it really shows. It really is that much easier to handle. The other comparison that we wanted to make that a lot of other people were curious to see, because in the particular Facebook group that I'm in, we have a lot of SaberForge owners, and they will get a better idea with this comparison. This is a SaberForge Venom that belongs to my wife. It's a good bit modified from the stock Venom. It's got crud on it. Anyway, the stock Venom compared to the Master Replica hilt it's a little bit thinner, but not a ton thinner. Not as dramatic as you might expect it to be. However, it's a lot more comfortable. This is much lighter than the Master Replica hilt, and probably it's a little bit heavier than the VadersVault hilt. But the other thing that you run into with this comparison is that, obviously you see it's a good bit longer, especially including the claws, but this is a Viridian soundboard.
Sample core, Viridian.
Ta-da, Viridian. And it is probably the way that this setup is built. It's not a high bass speaker, and it feels a little wimpy, honestly. It sounds great, it really does, and my wife loves it. It suits her perfectly, but compared to the other custom high bass in the Mace Windu, I mean, I'm sure you can hear the difference immediately. That's a big deal. And then in the VadersVault, the sound out of the Crystal Shard 2.5 is fantastic. The Spark Color 2 does a really good job, and until I had this Crystal Shard based saber in my hands, I did not realize how much of a difference there would be. But this is definitely the top tier of the ones that I own as far as sound quality. It is just amazing. Don't take that as a knock on SaberForge, because I love their stuff too, and it does sound absolutely fantastic. It's just that comparatively, especially with lightsabers, you get that nice deep bassy hum. And even the ones that are not intended to be deep bass hum sabers, for example, like the Shodo sound font, is sort of a higher pitched, squeakier hum that still just sounds better when you've got that bass to work with. Kill key you again, and actually move you out of the way for a minute so we can get this comparison just nice and simple. So you guys can see this is the stock Venom, a little modified a little bit, but not changed in size or dimension or anything like that. And this is the VadersVault Fury Elite. Again, it's a combat class model. All of their combat class sabers are roughly the same dimensions. Just a different aesthetic. And again, a couple people really were saying, oh, well, it's based off of whatever. It's very much a Mace Windu hilt. And in the two of them together, especially, my intention was to do my costuming with both of them as an asymmetric dual wield set, very similar to how Ahsoka runs her sabers that are obviously not a matched pair, even though they are obviously a matched pair. So I think that actually comes across really well because they belong together. They do look very similar. They have the same coloring and same accents and everything. One of the things that you can see just right here, because I really want to point it out, this hilt is shiny. You can see my monitor reflecting in the hilt there. And you sort of get it a little bit in the Master Replica too, but nothing like this. This is probably about as mirror finish as you can get without intentionally setting out to make a mirror finish. This is gorgeously reflective, which immediately had me going, oh no, fingerprints, but as I played with it some more, I just realized, you know what, it's going to get fingerprinted anyways because I'm going to play with it. It's not going on the shelf. This is for me to goof around with. And I have a 5-year-old son who loves his lightsabers too, so of course it's going to get used. Let me grab my blade and we'll look at some of the coloring. Hopefully this camera won't just wash out all of it. The VadersVault blade is a thin wall style blade. It's definitely more of a show blade as far as my experience goes. Most of my other blades are saber forged blades, which of course, as most people are aware, are very thick, very durable blades. So I was a little concerned about grabbing this one when I first saw it, but having used it a little bit, it's been swung around, it's been dueled with a little bit, and I haven't had any trouble, haven't had any problems. It works, it does what it's supposed to do. I definitely think I'm going to end up getting a shorter, like a 26-inch Saberforge V4 blade, just to use this as my offhand Shoto saber. And also to preserve the VadersVault blade, which looks fantastic.
This party's over.
You'll notice that I had to boot again. The Crystal Forge 2.5, or the Crystal Forge, Crystal Focus 2.5 has a sleep mode rather than a kill key that goes into an extremely low power drain mode, so that when you set it down or belt it for a while and don't interact with it, it will go into that low power mode to save your battery. In that low power mode, VadersVault says something like several months of shelf life for the battery, so that's pretty cool. You'll notice there is no recharge port as well. The way that they build their combat class sabers, it's actually got a removable battery, which again, I'll pull the chassis when I end up having to do that, but otherwise I'm not messing with it for the moment. So we get Shatterpoint by Mad Cow, and we'll go ahead and get that going. Now hopefully against my white backdrop here, you can see that purple a little more clearly. It does have a full flash on clash, as well as like blaster and lockup. And you can hear the Django Fett blaster effect, which I just love this font. I really do. Now the other cool thing that the Crystal Focus can do is with an RGB or RGBA, or however they want to wire it up for you. This is an RGB that VadersVault offers. It will allow you to change colors on the fly, just the same as the Spark Color 2. However, the way that the Crystal Focus does it is with a button combination. If you hold the auxiliary button and tap the power button rapidly together, it will give you your color change. And that actually just changed out to a really hot pink color, which is fantastic to discover on the saber when I got it. I said, ooh, that's sort of a Bane's Hardy color. A little white for the Imperial Knight, and it's actually got a whole mess of different colors. This is a nice lime green. I'm sure that doesn't show up very well, but it is a beautiful lime green that they mix in a nice red, a nice Sithy red. To change fonts on the Crystal Shard, Crystal Focus, Crystal Shard. Man, I'm just mixing up all my words today. Crystal Shard 2.5. You hit the auxiliary here and just hold it for a second, and that will load your next font. The way that this came to me was actually with the font boot noises rather than the font titles. So this is actually Flourish. And I have Flourish set to that nice lime green color because it just looks gorgeous. And I believe that's Gray Meat with a cyan color. It was originally sent to a blue when my son was playing with it. And Dark Meat with a nice horrible Sithy red. And this is a gorgeous sounding font, by the way, for those of you who have not had experience with Dark Meat. Very deep, very bassy, very Sith. Oops. So all in all, I wouldn't call it a review quite yet because I need to beat on it for a while to come back and give you a full review, but as an overview, I am very pleased with this hilt from VadersVault. It is, once again, that VadersVault Fury, and this is the Elite model. They do offer the Elite model in a couple different colors. Rather than the gold accenting, you can get it in a a black chrome and like a blue and a red and like a brassy color. I'm not sure, but it's all available on their website, www.VadersVault.com. And overall, I'm extremely pleased with it. This is probably my new favorite hilt, and again, especially as a match set with the Master Replicas and Mace Windu, they really, really do go together exceptionally well. If you guys have any other comments, like the video, all that jazz that YouTubers tend to say at the end of their stuff, you know, go ahead and do that kind of thing. Any questions, you can find me in the Facebook group. If you're a member of the Facebook group, you will recognize me in the group. And otherwise, go ahead and leave comments with questions or that kind of thing on the video, and I'll end up getting back to those as I go, and probably make a couple more videos, especially once my last hilt arrives. The last comparison that we have to make is against a Saberforge economy line. I forget what they've titled their economy line, but we have a Saberforge Alkalite that's coming specifically for my son, and we can compare its smaller size to the combat class as well as some of the other hilts that are around, and give an idea of what those look like in comparison and the scale of those. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and like I said, questions, comments, all that kind of good stuff, go ahead and let me know, and I'll do what I can to help out. Thanks very much, guys. Bye-bye.